That is my audience. This is for public speaking. My name is Madison Rees. Persuasive speech. The United States needs change, and it starts with the Constitution. As human beings, it is a privilege to live in a developed nation, and this should not be taken lightly. To be born in a country like the United States already puts us in a position to have a better quality of life than people born all over the world. We don't live in a war-torn country, and you don't have to hide away because of your religion or your race. Realistically, you can like who you like and do what you want to do without public scrutiny. And we are all privileged in one way or the other. My parents own a house on Long Island. They're together. I'm privileged in my own right, but that does not mean that issues in this country do not affect me, and I shouldn't care about those who don't receive housing or who are struggling. It is time for people to stop regarding this country as one of the best in the world. It is time for people to take the pride that they have for America and use it to make this country better. And as citizens, and especially as those leaders, we cannot look at every issue as strictly Republican or Democrat, strictly socialist or liberal, or communist, conservative or liberal. We are among one of the worst among developed nations when it comes to education or healthcare or maternal mortality. These are issues that we should want to fix to make this country better. The change that needs to happen is to better the lives of the people. And I urge you to think about the problems in the United States and whether they directly affect you or not, and recognize that this country is just not as great as it could be. Think about the power that your vote might hold. The problem in this country can be seen at its foundation. The Constitution is outdated. And one main problem with our Constitution is the United States is just not the same as it was back then. And some of the amendments need editing. And the Constitution makes change in America far too difficult. One main point that I want to address with the Constitution is that the United States from the 1700s is not the same as the United States now. Coming from Patriot History USA, here is an example of what life was like in the 18th century. Colonials made their own clothes from linen, flax, and wood. Every home had a spinning wheel and loom, and Americans grew their own food and ate a great deal of corn. Infant mortality was high, and any sickness usually meant suffering, often death. Colonials relied on folk medicine and Indian cures, including herbs, tea, honey, bark, and roots, supplemented with store-bought medicines. Doctors were few and far between. Boys studied longer, girls, it was believed that they needed to clean and cook and raise children. Laws prohibited schooling of African Americans, specifically so that they didn't read the Bible or learn about the situations that they were in. So that is the specific text from online picturing what life was like back in the 1700s when the Constitution was made. And it was made by rich white men who owned slaves. We just don't live in the same society as the society the Constitution was written for. The median age during the signing of the Constitution was 19 years old. I'm 19 years old, and that would mean that I've already lived half of my life. The most modern city was Philadelphia, and the largest state was Virginia. The population of the United States was 4 million, and 700,000 of those people were slaves. 95% of free people were farmers. And as Hoover in hooversituation.org says, we cannot blame the founding fathers for the bind we are in today. They had no idea what modern society would look like. They designed a government for their tiny agrarian nation. And you just can't fault them for that. But that doesn't mean that things shouldn't be changed. So because life is so different now, which parts of the Constitution are outdated? First off, the Electoral College is a large debate today, whether or not it should stay or it should go. Well, at the time of the Constitution, the largest state was Virginia, and it had about 11 times as many people as the smallest state, which was Delaware. So at the time, they wanted to protect small states like Delaware to make sure they still had a voice when it came to voting for the president. But now the largest state is California, and it has about 70 times as many people as Wyoming. The Electoral College does not work as well as the Founding Fathers had previously intended for it to work. The Electoral College causes many not to vote because they feel like their vote is going to be silenced by the way that the system works. For example, if you live in New York and you usually vote Republican, well, sorry to break it to you, New York is probably always going to be Democrat. And that makes many citizens think, why should I? Why should I vote? Why should I stand up for what I believe in if it's always going to be silenced by the way that the system works? Another issue with the Electoral College and the voting system is that voter suppression is very real. We don't have election day is not a holiday. So those who have to work and can't take days off of work because of the situation they are in usually aren't going to vote, because what matters more, voting for the president or providing for your family? Voter suppression can also be seen in gerrymandering, which is okay under the Constitution. So if you are part of the Democrat Party and you want to carve out a county in the South, then the law says that that's okay and it benefits you, and it should be a crime, but it's not under the Constitution. So Chief Justice John Roberts writes, "The Constitution supplies no objective measure for assessing whether a districting map treats a political party fairly." So basically that's saying that the Constitution has nothing to do with whether districting map treats a party fairly, whether citizens in the Democratic Party are treated fairly or citizens from the Republican Party are treated fairly, because under the law, that says it's okay. Another main issue with the Constitution is that congressmen have too much power, and it should not be a nursing home where people go to die. Our country is always revolving. There are always new people coming up with new ideas, and we're always evolving. There are new ideas and new feelings. So if our leaders and the people who decide law for us are 50 years older than us, how do they know about the society that we live in now? It's just not the same mentality, and there should not be people in Congress who have been there for years. There should be a cap. Another issue that should be amended in the Constitution is the Second Amendment. And I know the right to bear arms is a very big deal, but technology back then when they wrote it is not the same as it is now. And according to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, there are roughly 638,000 guns in circulation, machine guns in circulation in the United States. A number that includes both assault rifles like the M16 and more novel products like an Uzi submachine gun. So I can't imagine the Founding Fathers predicted this when they were shooting with muskets. But I'm not saying that the whole Constitution should be scrapped. And there are many parts of the Constitution that should stay the same. And even Barack Obama in the New Yorker says that the outlines of Madison's constitutional architecture are so familiar that even school children can recite them. School children can tell you that we have freedom of speech and the right to bear arms, but not only rule of law and representative government, not just the Bill of Rights, but also the separation of national government into three co-equal branches, a Congress, a concept of federalism that preserved authority in state governments. All of it is designed to diffuse power, check factions, protect the people. And those are such important parts of the Constitution that should not be taken for granted. So, if these are the problems in the Constitution, and I am not the only one saying that they're problems, they should be addressed, right? How come nothing has been done? Well, the Constitution itself has been designed so that it is too hard to change it. So we're stuck in this rock and hard place where you want to change the Constitution, but the Constitution won't let you change the Constitution. So we have the world's oldest written Constitution, and it has only been changed 27 times since it was ratified. More than 11,000 amendments have been introduced in Congress, and 33 have gone to the states to be ratified. 11,000 amendments introduced, and only 33 have gone to the states. And of those 33, 27 have received the necessary approval from states to actually become amendments into the Constitution. Tradition hurts too many Americans, and we cherish the founding fathers and their way of life, and not to take anything from them, but we can't cherish them forever. So 55 men attended most of the meetings, and there were never most of the meetings for the Constitution, and there were never more than 46 men at one time. And ultimately, only 39 delegates actually signed the Constitution to dictate a country for the next couple hundreds of years. We live on law that was approved by 39 elite men in America hundreds of years ago. And the main issue with the Constitution is that it quite literally cannot be changed. So, according to Khan Academy, first, every amendment must receive support from 3/4 of the state convention or state legislators. It is incredibly difficult to get that many states to agree on permanent change to the Constitution, because as I said, tradition is something that many Americans hold on to. And the process is so difficult that it could take years before the U.S. Constitution has its 28th Amendment. Some amendments continue to pop up in Congress, including an amendment requiring Congress to pass a balanced budget, an amendment setting term limits for members of Congress, an amendment defining who can get married. But we're still waiting because of the Constitution and the 5th article. In conclusion, the Constitution was written by very flawed men who owned human beings and whose foresight has been proven inaccurate. And make no mistake, this is said by Ryan Cooper, make no mistake, a constitutional collapse would be a tremendously destabilizing and dangerous event in America, and raise a significant amount of insurrection, civil war, and or military dictatorship. But if it comes, and when it comes, it won't be by choice. It will be because of ancient, janky mechanisms of the American Constitution that just simply failed us. If we wish to avoid such breakdown, moderating reforms like the ones that I mentioned must be considered and adapted. I urge everyone to recognize the problems in our country. We have one of the oldest constitutions and the hardest to amend in the world. Tradition causes people not to value the things that should be let go. Tradition causes people to value things that should be let go. And some areas of the Constitution protect others, but other areas hurt people. And there needs to be new policy in order for a country to move in the right direction and protect its citizens. You should vote locally, vote domestically, and sign petitions that urge for the change of the Constitution. We can donate to organizations that continue to move towards change in America so that life is better for our people and better for the next generation. Thank you.